So I think I have found a way that we can use a fade out stop in our live settings for using Ableton instead of just doing a hard stop with the spacebar. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I have two songs, not even all the tracks for the second one pulled up just as the example to get you started. And this has been tested now today with connected to the Scarlett, where each of our tracks are routed to one of our 8 outputs, and it works even connected to that, which is great news, because then we can actually use it for service, not just while we're making the tracks. So I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to scroll to the bottom and Command-Shift-T to create a new track. Right now it's grouped in with vocals, so I'm just going to pull into this gray area and it'll ungroup. We'll go ahead and rename that one fade track. And if you have not already, I think I mentioned it in a previous video, but if you've not already, we're going to go to MIDI Studio. If this screen doesn't automatically pop up, you may have to click on Show MIDI Studio and go to IAC Driver. And then just make sure that if you've not already created a bus for this fade feature, you just need to hit the plus button. You can name it fade, or I named my master fade bus, and then hit apply. Since I've already done that, I don't need to do that again. So we're going to go to our new track line we just made, change our inputs to no input, change our outputs to that bus we just created, that fade bus. And we're going to create, I'm going to make sure this loop is turned off. Yes. We're going to create an empty MIDI clip over the course of a measure. So we're going to insert MIDI clip. First thing to do with this clip is to turn off the loop. And then we can pick a note, let's say B5. Drag it out. If for some reason, this happened to me the other day, if for some reason your mouse is this little pencil icon and it's not letting you create a note, just hit the B button and it'll go back to a regular mouse. We're going to go to our envelopes, make sure that we're on MIDI control, which it should already be. And then instead of pitch bend, we're going to change that to channel volume. It's going to give us this blue line, so we'll click at the beginning and the end. Drag the one at the end all the way down to 0, so it gives us this gradual decrease in volume. We can close out of here. And then we're just going to single click that MIDI clip that we just created and hit Command M as in MIDI, or you can just click it up here in the top right. It's going to go blue, and then we're going to click on each one of these track lanes or track group lanes and hit spacebar. To essentially, we're assigning that fade, that volume fade feature to each one of these tracks at the click of a button. So I'm going to hit this, not the orange box that tells you if a track lane is activated or deactivated, but the blue box that has the level of volume and intensity and gain that you can move up and down. They should all be at 0 by default, but we're going to single click those and hit spacebar, and then spacebar again. We're going to do that for each one of these, spacebar, spacebar again, and that's just, again, assigning that fade effect that we just created on that mini clip to each one of these. For these grouped tracks, you don't have to do it for each individual item. You can just do it on the group title or the main group track here. And we're going to go down. We already did loop. We've got effects. We've got bass. And again, I'm just single clicking each one of these, hitting spacebar since I had the MIDI clip selected, and then spacebar again to pause it. And we can go down to piano. Okay, and then we can hit Command M again. And then another thing that we'd want to do that is helpful, and I'll show you in a little bit, is go ahead and hit Command M, and open up this window. And here is showing us our minimum and our maximum volume or level of intensity or gain that we have for each of these blue squares that we just hotkeyed. So essentially it's right now it's set to the minimum volume being nothing, and the maximum volume being gained all the way up to 6. We want it at 0, so we're just going to click each one of these and hit 0. So that way there's not a sudden jump in volume or gain when we use this feature. Next, we're going to hit Command K, and if you have this side open up, it'll show you all your hotkeys you have for the beginning of each song, or if you have S for solo click. What we're going to do is click those same boxes we just did for our MIDI note, except we're on instead of MIDI, we're on key now. We're going to hit the A button. I do mine all in lowercase. You can do it in caps lock. Just know that if you assign a hotkey to, say, capital A, it will register that as a different button from lowercase a. So if for some reason you assign all these to lowercase a, and then for a service caps lock is on, maybe it got left on from a previous session or something, then these buttons will not register that. So just make sure that you stay consistent with that. Either leave it on all the time or leave it off all the time. Either way. But again, we're just clicking each of these groups or each of these tracks or groups and clicking A. And then since these are already at 0, we don't have to do that again. So we can go ahead and hit Command K to close out of that. Essentially what we just did is we made the A button a way that we can completely mute every one of our tracks or completely bring up to neutral or 0 for every one of our tracks. What we're going to do here is we can, this was our note from earlier, our MIDI note. We're going to cut it and go to this view here. You can either click it over here or hit Tab to swap between the two. And it may have you over here, so you'll just scroll to the right until you see our fade track lane. We're going to Command V to paste, Command R to rename, and then we're just going to hit play and stop right underneath it. We can go back to this view here, and right now all of our tracks are at 0, so I'm going to hit A and everything's going to go up to neutral, and I'm going to hit play.
Intro 2, 3, 4.
And then for some reason if I want to fade the track right here, I'll just hit the F key.
Refrain.
Oh, excuse me, missed a step. From this screen, just make sure to hit Command K and F. That's going to be our hotkey. So let's try that one more time from the beginning of this song.
Intro 2, 3,
I'm going to
4.
hit F, and then at the top of a measure, that fade will begin, as you see, and everything, while the marker will continue moving along in the song until you hit spacebar to pause it. Everything's muted, all the volume is down. So with that, I'm going to bring everything back up. Let's say we're at the end of a song like this song Praise, and we want to continue flowing, or we want to reprise or something like that.
Ending.
And we're here, we hit F, and the band keeps playing, but the tracks fade out. And we finish up, we do whatever we're doing there, and then, all right, we're ready to go to the next song. If I just hit 2 and play, everything is still muted. So what you need to do is make sure before you play that next song, is just hit A again
1,
to bring everything back
2,
up to full
intro
volume.
2, 3, 4.
The way that I have that is on our tracks laptop, I'll actually leave a sticky over here and leave Ableton open to about that wide. And I'll have our routing, and I'll have the set list and what hotkey it's on. And I'll also have a note that will say A for all tracks in, F for fade tracks out. Let's make sure that's everything. We can close this lane. So that's our
Intro 2, 3.
main effects that we want, is that everything in, everything out, as well as a fade, which again starts at the top of a measure. So if you click it on like the 1 beat, I don't know, let's see.
Intro 2, 3, 4.
If I wait until right there, it may feel like it takes a little bit longer to actually begin the fade, because it's going to wait until it gets to the top of that measure before it begins the fade. What we can do to where we don't have to do all of that every time we make a set list is we can just delete this stuff that we have and delete all this. Let's see, there's a few more we missed. EG. the second song. So we're going to delete everything, and I'm going to just leave this first hotkey as song 1 with no title. And what we can do is we can hit File and then save live set as template, and then you can name it whatever you want. We'll just call it new, and then you would right click that and set default live set. So that way I already have mine set here, but when you have that selected as set default live set, every time you open Ableton it will default by default have all these hotkeys and these MIDI notes that we just did. That way you're not having to do that every time you create a set. Instead, that's all ready to go, and you can just drag your songs in, and the fade and all of that is already done. Hey, this is Future Daniel. Looking back on this video, the only thing that I would suggest changing from what I showed in this video is dragging your fade track lane to the top. And I just closed mine out to where it's not taking up a ton of space. However, I found that if I had it at the bottom, down here below all of my normal tracks, anytime I made a kind of a mass edit, so like if for some reason I wanted to shorten this measure here, and I draw my line, and behind that line I just want to delete all this. Anytime I did that, it would end up impacting the fade track, and I've found that if I dragged that all the way up to the top and left it up here, then that didn't give me that problem. So I would suggest doing that, and other than that, I think everything else should be working just fine.